You know, this whole roommate thing is really starting to freak me out. I mean, I put in a lot of late nights, but while I'm studying medieval Jewish psychology, my roommate's studying something else. There must be something sublimely holy about Jenny Goldsborough's lace thong that at 3 in the morning I just don't get. But while I'm reading the Torah, he's getting a very different education. And judging by the whips, handcuffs, and rubber chicken, it's pretty out there. All of this gets me thinking about sex. So, mine, and not theirs. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm a virgin. I know. How does a good-looking guy like me not end up with his P and a V? But it's true. This cocoon of abstinence can't last forever, though. And so I set out to have sex. Imagine the Backstreet Boys are playing in the background. My trusty stuffed goat Billy the Kid is sitting in the corner while my girlfriend drops graham cracker crumbs on my chest. Uncomfortable? Well, you shouldn't be. Because according to the Daily Kansan of November 18th, 2010, fetishes are a part of our daily life, and are not just a sexual want, but also a sexual need. However, fetishes have been stigmatized by poor social connotations, and far more importantly, they have made our sex more boring than Moby Dick, which wasn't at all what I thought it would be about. So today, we must rebrand creepy fetish guy as positive deviance, the safe embracing of our sexual desire. And first, we'll try on a couple problems, play around with some causes, before finally trying on our furry suit. I mean, talking about solutions and stuff. So how did we get here? We walked from over there. You know, Billy, you didn't laugh much at my Billy the Kid joke. It's a goat joke. First, our understanding of sexuality is inherently limited, and second, even if we're comfortable with our sexuality, there's often no safe place for us to explore it. Now, we learn about sex in a variety of ways, starting with mommy giving daddy a special hug and moving on to the classroom, where we learn surprisingly little. If my sex ed teacher taught me anything, it's that God is in the bedroom, and his calling for me is that of missionary. Every time. Which, like manually stimulating animals, sounds pretty boring. Even when I went on television at night, I was bombarded with these same images of vanilla sex. If you turn on the top 5 television shows today, what you would essentially take sex to be is between good-looking, heterosexual white people, instead of multiple partners in the dungeon with a candlestick. This is precisely the problem discussed by Jonathan Lesser in his Salon.com article of December 13th, 2010, entitled, Why I Turned Down the Threesome. Or far more accurately, why my penis clearly isn't functioning. In that article, Lesser states that I didn't even know what fellatio was until I was 24 years old. And even now, having been married for 4 years, I slyly tiptoe into the bedroom and ask my wife if she wants to experience sexualities. And you thought I was pathetic? However, even if we're comfortable with our sexuality, there's often no safe place for us to engage in. The May 24th, 2010 issue of the New York Times introduces us to Mai Yohai, a man who posted in certain illicit or illegal sex groups online under the name Raging Virile Fire. Now, Yohai has been put in jail for 3.5 years for what essentially amounts to sexual exploration, and posting under the name Raging Virile Fire. But what sort of world do we live in where a 53-year-old raging Asian fire can't dip his egg roll in some soy sauce? Or fish sauce? Or peanut sauce? All wonton aside, the real issue is that at our worst, we're not real about the sex that we want, and often we share more guilt than Natalie Portman for following up Black Swan with no strings attached. You know, I'm reminded of this really poignant thing I saw on this great program once. You've probably seen it. A Real Sex 16, there's like this chick and she's about to get railed and stuff, and she goes, you know, I never realized how much fun it was to just talk about the sex that you want. Now, my childhood masturbatory practices aside, this is precisely the problem discussed in the November 16, 2010 issue of Clutch magazine, in which it states that out of a fear of being rejected by our sexual partners, we often hide behind masks so that we won't be rejected and so that our natural fetishes won't seem unnatural. And let's not be relativistic here. while not wanting to give your partner a rim job, which has nothing to do with car repair. It might not seem as important as not wanting to read Oprah's next book of the month, hint because it's trash. They both matter. Communication is one of the most important aspects of any relationship, and that extends especially into the bedroom, public restroom, or in the same room while grandma's sleeping. However, that freak Prester Prynne and her blinged out scarlet letter aren't behind America, and in fact, they're not behind us either. Behind. This is precisely the problem discussed in the August 26, 2010 issue of Miller McCune magazine, in which a recent study found that we still associate the correct kinds of sex with certain values from our puritanical past. Essentially, working a 9-to-5 job, sharing in certain kinds of spiritual salvation, and being in a monogamous relationship. And that, in fact, we often look down on those outside of our sexual classic norm. We can turn to a famous episode of MTV's True Life series entitled Plushies and Furries, in which a young man comes out to his mother, in full coyote costume, and is promptly rejected by her. Now, this sounds amusing, and he has a full tale to go along with it, but it really turns fetish into spectacle. Here, this young man tries to have a meaningful conversation with someone in his life, and the program turns him into a freak show. Our desire to explore sexuality has been so diminished, and our uncomfortable nature regarding it so lionized, that we no longer even play. So, what can we do to combat it? Well, short of a few ladies or men in this room indulging my sexual fantasies, we must turn to another deeply sexual woman. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Ray. And did Mrs. Ray have things to teach? Starting with art, or ask, risk, and time together. This was a personal manifesto she created to help me make friends in third grade, but we can apply it to our sex lives. First, ask. The Examiner of August 22nd, 2010 asks, should we fear or support fetishes? And answers that we must support them, not only as a way of connecting to our own intimate desires, but also as a way of finding partners who will corroborate them. Now, I had to ask my third grade crush, Sue O'Neill, to play in the sandbox with me, but how could she know I'm into ponytails if I won't let her in? Embarrassing? Definitely. But that's why we have sex with the lights off. And then we have to risk. Talk to the big kids on the playground, or break out those whips, cuffs, and chains. These are things that make our blood boil and our faces red. But they often link us to our most intimate wants and needs. And not without caution, however. Especially for dangerous fetishes, it is especially important that both partners are safe and that they're getting the kind of sex that they want. And finally, time together. Sex, like any other part of a relationship, is something to be developed over time. Now, when I came to my college campus, I realized our mascot was the Cardinal, and that we have this very special group on campus called the Kinky Cardinals. Now, this sounds like a funny place, and it is pretty trippy, but it also offers people a safe environment to explore the kind of sex that they want. I would encourage all of you to seek out those organizations on your own campuses, or to act as a faculty advisor, or to find them online. Let's make Mrs. Ray proud by indulging in those same ideas she put forth in her art manifesto and applying them to our naughty selves. Not all deviance is bad, and in fact, it often links us to our most intimate wants and needs. Unless you're Bret Michaels, in which case all of your needs are disgusting. The ideas from our puritanical past don't work when applied to our modern relationships. And so instead, we must apply a postmodern value set to ensure that we all get the sex that we want. And what this boils down to is talking about the kind of sex that we want, and taking risks to achieve it, and most importantly, spending time with others to get it. And the next time I see my roommate going to class on Jenny, well, I might join in, and I might even bring Billy. With their permission, of course.